Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore something a little different, a bit more somber. We're stepping into the shadows of a very melancholy fairy tale, the story of Vexana, the tragic Duchess of Necrokeep. I want you to just lean in and listen closely for a moment, because what we're about to uncover is a hidden tragedy, one that's buried deep within a cursed land. Now, you probably know Vexana as a formidable, downright terrifying queen of the undead, right? But I want you to ask yourself something. What if she wasn't actually born evil? What if she only became cursed because she was desperately trying to save everyone? It's a really heart-wrenching question, and honestly, it completely changes how we have to look at this iconic ruler. Chapter 1, A Reluctant Princess. So to really understand her, we have to rewind the clock way back to the beginning. Long before she was commanding armies of the undead, she was just Princess Vexana of the House of Gaius. She was raised in the absolute safety of Luminous City, right in the heart of the Manian Empire. She was a sheltered royal. She had literally never known hardship. But destiny, well, you know how it goes. It had a much darker path carved out for her. Okay, let's look at this stark contrast. Vexana was forced into an arranged marriage by her father. She had to trade her warm, noble, incredibly safe life in Luminous City for the damp, dark, and honestly terrifying fortress of Ridgeburg down in the south. I mean, just imagine that. Being pulled from a life of absolute comfort and dropped behind these cold, unfeeling walls to marry a man you barely know. A man, Duke Atticus, who wasn't even there to greet her when she finally arrived. As you can imagine, she was terrified. She just desperately wanted to write to her father, begging him to let her come home. But then something really gentle happened. The people of Ridgeburg, they weren't the cruel monsters she'd built up in her head. They were just scared. They were poor. The local kids even brought her moonlight grass, which is this simple little herb meant to calm the mind. And it's these small, deeply humanizing acts of kindness that began to anchor this terrified princess to this really frightening new place. Moving into Chapter 2, Growing to Love Ridgeburg. That one simple gesture, it was the spark for a profound internal shift. Vexana's perspective just completely flipped. She slowly stopped looking at Ridgeburg as this dark prison she needed to escape, and she started seeing it for what it was, a community of vulnerable people who genuinely needed her guidance, her care, and her protection. Let's look at how this beautiful transformation builds over time. We're talking weeks of her just learning responsibility, walking among her people. As those weeks turned into months, she spent her time reading letters from the absent Duke Atticus, and she really started to understand his pain and his deep love for his homeland. And as the years gracefully passed, she grew into a truly capable ruler. Ridgeburg wasn't just an assignment anymore. It had become her actual home. And you know, this is exactly why the tragedy we're about to discuss hurts so much more. Vexana chose to stay emotionally long before the curse forced her to stay physically. Through those heartfelt letters, she had actually fallen completely in love with Duke Atticus. She fully transformed from that reluctant princess into a devoted duchess. Chapter 3, The Nightmare Wedding. Unfortunately, joy in Ridgeburg was fleeting. After 2 long years of defending the borders, Duke Atticus finally returned. The whole city was preparing for this joyous, highly anticipated wedding celebration. It was supposed to secure a bright, hopeful future for everyone. But this celebration was about to become the darkest day of Vexana's life. The ceremony just shattered in a single moment. Imagine the scene. A box that was supposed to hold Vexana's wedding ring opened, but instead, it released a terrifying, cursed force. The dark magic of the abyss just surged out, and it instantly corrupted Atticus and his loyal knights. In the blink of an eye, the very protectors of the city transformed into mindless monsters, violently tearing apart the home they had literally sworn to defend. The lore puts it like this. Vexana was ready to marry Atticus and secure a future for Ridgeburg. Instead, she watched her fiancé and his knights become the city's nightmare. Just sit with the raw, crushing despair of that moment for a second. The man she had grown to deeply love, the future she had finally accepted and embraced, violently ripped away from her on what was supposed to be her wedding day. Chapter 4, A Heartbreaking Sacrifice. So, with the protectors corrupted and the forces of the abyss rapidly approaching to completely wipe out the city, Vexana was backed into a corner. There were absolutely no good choices left. In his final, fleeting moments before he died, Atticus used his last breath to reveal a devastating secret, an ancient, desperate weapon against the abyss known as the Mist. Faced with the impossible weight of command, Vexana lifted Atticus's scepter and she made the ultimate, heartbreaking sacrifice. She released the Mist over Ridgeburg. Now, this mist was forged from the agony of countless fallen warriors from the Endless War. It successfully pushed back and destroyed the abyss, but it came at a horrifying cost to her own ordinary innocent citizens. Ultimately, she chose the lesser evil, saved the city from total annihilation, even if that meant everyone she loved would carry a terrible curse. Ridgeburg survived the invasion, yes, but it was forever changed. It became Necrokeep. The citizens' skin lost its color, and they became trapped in this tragic, permanent state of undeath. Chapter 5, Mother of the Undead. Now, the easiest thing for her to do at this point would have been to just flee, right? Run back to the safety and warmth of Luminous City and try to forget the whole thing. But Vexana didn't run away. She stayed. She absorbed the immense guilt of what she had to do to save them, and she fully accepted her heavy responsibility. She became a gentle mother and a steadfast protector to these cursed souls. The reality of Necrokeep today is just devastating. You have undead families still gathering around their tables. Children still pretend to go to school. They eat food that has long since turned to dust, just clinging desperately to the memories of a normal life. And Vexana watches over them all. She acts as their only light inside the mist, holding on to the hope that she will one day find a way to reverse this awful curse. And you know what's fascinating? This profound tragedy is directly woven into her very magic. When Vexana fights, she isn't just casting random spells. She's bringing the sorrow of Necrokeep to the battlefield. Her nether touch literally spreads the curse. Deathly Grasp and Cursed Blast show her commanding her dark burden. And her Eternal Guard, where she summons an undead knight, that is a direct, tragic representation of the fallen protectors of her city. Her magic is literally the memory of the city she saved and the city she failed, all at once. Quick side note for the longtime followers of this universe, you might remember the older archives. In those earlier tales, Vexana was painted pretty simply as a dark necromancer queen, consumed by jealousy, easily corrupted by Alice. But as our understanding is deepened, her true, current narrative has been revealed. She isn't some one-dimensional demon queen. She is a tragic duchess who sacrificed absolutely everything to stop the abyss. Before we wrap up, I want to take a brief moment to acknowledge our source material today, generously provided by the Lazy Gamers, which is this incredible MLBB community rising up in Nepal. They do phenomenal work preserving and explaining these intricate stories. So remember to support this rich lore and, as their community wisely says, play lazy, play smart, be legendary. Let me leave you with this final lingering thought. Look closely at Vexana now and understand her true nature. She did not become darkness because she loved evil. She stepped into darkness because she refused to abandon her people. The next time you see the Duchess of Necrokeep, remember the incredibly heavy crown of sacrifice she wears. So I leave you with this. The next time you face her on the battlefield, will you see a monster to be destroyed or a savior who has already lost everything? Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep seeking the truth behind the stories, and I'll see you next time.